What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight Daily Podcast powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Friday, big game coming up on Saturday. We will talk all about the Georgia Tech game, some more news, but we're going to lead off with what people have been asking me about, and that is the bank, the most direct insider information on the status of the recruiting class and what to look for in these final months, really final month. As we head into that early signing day, I'll give you the absolute latest, fresh off the presses for you at CanesInSight. Those who've been following for a while know what the bank is all about. We will give it to you like we get it, and you can take it to the bank. First, I want to talk about some folks that you also don't need to worry about that are official, and that is Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. Hop in, Pete. Hop in.
What's going on, Dia? I could get used to these Bank Fridays.
Yeah, especially we're recording early, right? So get it rolling. The bank on Friday is the way to go. A lot of good news. A lot of really not even so much good news as much as focusing what to look for here in these next few weeks, right? Because you get a lot of names. People ask about a lot of names, but really there's few names that matter. It's kind of like, we don't get political here, but in the election, they talk about a million states, but it's really the battleground states you kind of hone in on at the end when you're watching election coverage. These are the battleground players in this class that you really, really need to hone in on. So I'll just start, some players that I think definitely keep an eye on, which is Kellen Riley, Sefner Armwood, Shamar Arnaud, out of Georgia, committed to USC. Dallas Wilson out of Tampa, committed to Oregon. These are players to keep an eye on. These are players that Miami likes a lot that could wind up in Miami's class. But I want to focus again on the six, let's call them the battleground players that really, to me, are going to dictate the success of this recruiting class. You want to land at least three of these six. You land 4 or 5, you're in home run territory. You land 6, you're in Grand Slam territory. But you want to at least land 3 of these guys, and you'll be feeling really good about where this recruiting class is. Just big picture, 22 commits right now. Normal attrition, I could see closer to 20 in the class as far as the current commits, so the current 22, and then trying to add 3 to 6 of these battleground players, Pete. So, just straight off the top, Ben Hanks, to me, the best player in South Florida, maybe the best corner in the country, maybe the best player in Florida. This guy's an absolute superstar. His senior film's off the charts. He's up to 9 picks on the year. Florida Gator commit. Obviously, we talked yesterday about how Billy Napier got the vote of confidence from the AD. But listen, the Gators are probably going to lose the next 3 games. The Gators could lose the next 4 games. Maybe they don't. Maybe they make a run here with Napier getting the vote of confidence. But they play Ole Miss. They play Texas. They play LSU. Texas next up on the slate, and then they finish with Florida State, who knows what they're going to get from that game. But if you're Miami, you're rooting for them to lose every game. That's what you should be doing anyways. It's the Florida Gators. But definitely rooting for them to lose every game. I'm not sure that's exactly what this Ben Hanks recruitment comes down to. There's a lot of factors in play. He's got a sister who plays volleyball. Where is she going to end up? Obviously, just the relationships with the staff. Miami's prioritized Ben Hanks in a major way from the beginning. We'll see. This is going to be this is to me. If you ask me if I can get one of these guys, and this is me talking, not necessarily the staff talking, this is the guy I want. I think this is the best corner in the country. I think he's the best player in the state. You look at the ability to play both ways, the ball skills on both sides. He tested well. He's tall. He's silky smooth, a pure cover corner. So obviously Miami's biggest need position. I think this guy can come in and make an impact just like OJ Frederick did. Day 1 starter. He's got a little bit bigger, but that's easy when you have a long, lanky frame and college level strength and nutrition and eating all those meals. I see this guy as, to me, one guy who will come in and make an immediate impact on the 25 team and give Miami what it hasn't had in too long, which is you get the best player in South Florida, you get the best corner in Florida, and you take care of those 2 issues, because that's something Miami's struggled with. The absolute best player in South Florida. You didn't get Jeremiah Smith. Did get it with Ruben Bane. You didn't get Brandon Innes. Obviously, Ruben Bane's a lot better than Brandon Innes, but that was a battle you lost. And corner-wise, too many lost battles to count between Patrick Surtain, Patrick Peterson, go down the list. So, long way of saying, my personal list, Ben Hanks, number 1.
Let me tell you, D. I mean, just watching the highlights, and this isn't the first time I've seen it, but am I crazy to draw some Travis Hunter comparisons with the game? Similar body type. I mean, very similar size. Travis Hunter was listed at 165 coming out of high school, and even today, he's not rocked up out there. He's wiry, strong, but I think the ball skills, you could probably argue that Ben Hanks is faster than Travis Hunter. And again, it's going both ways there. Does play into this comparison, but I think body types, I mean, nationally ranked in a similar level. Hunter probably a little bit ahead, but yeah, I see it. I see it there. The ball skills for sure. A corner popping out on tape.
Yeah, definitely. If you hone in at corner, I could see the comparison. You know, I'm a huge Travis Hunter guy. I think he's Hall of Fame talent, special athlete, rare across the board. But I could if you're isolating corner, you know, I can see it. I think this guy's a top 10 pick a corner if he goes according to plan. He's got the height. He tested in the 4.4, so we know he has the speed, laser verified. The production in South Florida is off the charts. The ball skills, that usually translates. You saw with Cam Kitchens. Cam Kitchens was a ball hawk in high school, ball hawk in college, and look what's happening in the pros. Those things tend to translate. I think this guy's the guy that's going to get a lot of interceptions at the cornerback position without being a cheater. You know, he's not somebody that's going to just be jumping routes all the time. We saw him at camp, and he was picking off guys at camp just in phase because of his long arms, his ball skills, and being so sticky in coverage. There's not somebody who, like an Asante Samuel, was a great player, but really gambled quite a bit. Or Terrell Buckley, if you go back in the day. This is a guy that doesn't need to gamble to get interceptions. He's that good. He's that long. So, again, to me, if we're talking about the Battleground 6 here, my personal opinion, Ben Hanks is at the top. Certainly, he's in that mix, and Miami loves him.
Maybe the number 12 is doing something in terms of my comparison also.
Hey, listen, that happens. But the height, the ball skills, I see it. Another name I want to focus on, Hayden Low from Los Angeles, California. This is a guy who's having a very, very big senior year. We talked about momentum building up with him. He has a USC commit. He's from Los Angeles. But what's happening at USC? The program is collapsing. I am a very vocal critic of Lincoln Riley. I think he's the most overrated head coach in the nation. We'll see how that program continues to tilt. Certainly, if you're a defensive player like Hayden Low, I don't think Lincoln Riley's development of defensive players inspires too much confidence. Who's he really developed on the defensive end in his entire career? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I don't know. By the way, like and subscribe to this podcast and leave some comments on there what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, or what you disagree with. But I don't see Lincoln Riley developing any defensive players. Flip to Mario, who went to the exact same high school as Hayden Low and played the same position as Hayden Low. Kayvon Thibodeau, top 10 recruit, goes to Oregon, top 10 pick, doing well for the New York Giants. If you're looking for a blueprint, that's the blueprint you want to follow. There's no similar blueprint for Lincoln Riley for the USC program in recent years. So again, to me, I think Hayden Low is someone who already has significant interest, and the more things get real, he's already committed to USC. So if he's committed to USC, listening to Miami, there's clearly mutual interest. And he visited in spring. I saw him in person. Guy looked like an NFL player physically, having a great senior year, moving up the ranks. Could be a 5-star by that time this thing's all said and done if he does well in the postseason stuff. But if I'm Hayden Low, Miami's pitch to him makes a lot more sense than what USC is pitching. I don't see any reason to go to USC, and I don't think USC is going to resuscitate their season anytime soon. Miami's just getting more and more prominent. So Hayden Low's a guy I'm watching. I think Miami's a very good shot at. Miami considers him a top 10 type of talent, similar to Kayvon Thibodeau. So that's what you should put in your brain with the Hayden Low. 247, all those guys that have been monitoring senior seasons have all pointed out Hayden Low's having a great senior year. Miami's not surprised. They loved him last year.
Those clips were from last year, but he looks long. He looks strong, explosive. He looks like the total package, D. But he looks like he's a guy who has the size and the frame already. There's, there will be weight added to him, but it's not going to be a tough process like it is with some guys.
No, I saw him in person. Right there next to Sans Jason Taylor. I thought he was an alum. I was trying to figure out, I'm like, who's that? I don't recognize the face. Is this like some sort of defensive end from the mid 2000s? And it was a high school junior at the time, rising senior Hayden Low. He looks the part. He plays the part. High motor kid as well. Again, Kayvon Thibodeau. That's just like Mario used the Penei Sewell blueprint to recruit Francis Mauigoa, which of course that looks like it's going to be history repeating itself. Mm-hmm. Hayden Low is the same thing on the other side of the ball with the Kayvon Thibodeau blueprint. Another guy, Pete, I want to highlight in this Battleground 6, TJ Alford out of Vero Beach, Florida, is an Ohio State commit. Miami's had success flipping Ohio State commits. Talking about Mark Fletcher, who's playing a huge role in this year's team. Jordan Lyle, who looks like the future at the running back position. And then, of course, Marquise Lightfoot last year and Justin Scott. So Miami's done good with Ohio State commits. Tarvis Alford, this is a Florida guy, so there's obviously ties there. Super athlete, having a really, really strong senior year. Miami values this player heavily. They were in the mix when he committed to Ohio State, finished second. But I think Alford's stocks continue to rise, and Miami's status with him has continued to rise. He look at the speed, man. This guy's a tremendous difference-making athlete. You look at teams like Georgia, who are at the top of the college football world on the defensive side of the ball. This guy fits, to me, a Georgia linebacker athletically.
Yeah, the speed. I mean, he's not the tallest linebacker in the world, but his lateral movement, you see him change directions there, and ability to cover a lot of ground. You see him lined up here over the slot and then still making the play there in the run game with the physicality. We get caught up a lot of times in the height and the weight at this position so much, D. But if you can run and you're willing to be physical and get your nose dirty, as we see here in a lot of these run plays, it gives you such a different dimension at the position.
Yeah, no question about it. I think Miami, you see, they're looking for guys that can play the run and the pass. That's why Cam Pruitt, Bobby Pruitt, true freshman this year, signing last year, is playing a bigger role as the season goes on. Popa Aguirre, who's hurt now, he'll be back. He was playing an extended role because of his ability to run and cover and hit. Alford fits that bill, probably higher rated. In fact, he is higher rated than both of those guys. Ohio State commit. I mean, look at the athletic ability of this dude. You can't let guys like this leave the state, especially when Florida and Florida State are doing so bad. Ohio State's obviously had some success beating us for Jeremiah Smith. We've had success against them. This is a battle Miami really wants to win. And look at the ability to get up the block and the speed. He was a great athlete as a sophomore, improved as a junior. Now as a senior, I think he's really put all together as an elite linebacker.
Yeah, it looks like he's reading the game well too. I mean, I would love to get a coach's thoughts on it, but it seems like he's the total package there.
Yep. So before we move on to the other three of what I call the Battleground 6, let's talk about a really, really cool event happening in Miami right here at home, which is Croquetas with Santa, Islas Canarias. We've talked about it, the best Cuban restaurant in Miami, and which means it's the best Cuban restaurant in the world. They're now at Dayland Mall in the dining pavilion. There's a great event here Monday, November 25th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the new play area by J.C. Penney. They got new play area for your kids to run around in. Islas Canarias is going to have their classic croquetas, all kinds of styles. The classic, you got kimchi, Korean style croquetas. If you want to do something more new, of course, the old school ham, they got that. They got 7 flavors. You can get that all here. If you donate a gift, you get a package that includes Legos for your kids, first 100 people in line, and give it for a good cause, which is the Amigos for Kids toy drive. So give back, get back, eat some croquetas, have fun in the play area right there in the heart of Miami, Islas Canarias. If you're not able to go to this event, you just want to get some Cuban food right there in the dining pavilion every day, rain and shine, open for business. Islas Canarias, the best Cuban restaurant in the world. If you know, you know, and ask anybody, you see the comments whenever I talk about Islas, they know it's the best in the world. All right, so getting on to the next 3 here. Let's go with Jarquez Carter. How about that? Defensive tackle out of Newberry, Florida. This is right up there by Gainesville. Jarquez Carter is a Ohio State commit, like Justin Scott was last year. You got the senior clips. His teammate Micah Newton is a commit who's also having a very good senior year. But Jarquez Carter, man, one thing I heard about him, we loved him before. His senior clips have taken him to a whole new level. As you can see in these highlights, man, this is a dominant player. Again, playing next to a Miami commit, Micah Newton, who's also having a great senior year. But this guy, he's rated as a 4-star, but I think internally he's closer to 5-star status when they really value him.
Yeah, and it looks like his body's taken a step up, D, compared to the clips we saw last year. I think we pretty sure we saw him in person too. Maybe I'm wrong at one of these camps, and it looked like a good body type, but to me looks a lot more stout here in some of these clips. The quickness, the strength. I mean, he's he's really showing it all off.
Yeah, a guy visited for games. I agree. He looks great physically. You see him just throw offensive linemen off. There was a weight room competition at one of these national recruit events, and he was blowing the doors off the bench press. I think he was the leader of the bench press of that national gathering of highly rated recruits. He is extremely quick. You see the highlights. He's beating everybody off the snap except for maybe his own teammate Micah Newton, a Miami commit. And Ohio State knows what they're doing at defensive tackle. They got a couple NFL guys this year. We were able to take Justin Scott for them. Justin Scott's prominently involved in this recruiting process for Jarquez Carter to explain why he should go to Miami instead of Ohio State. Ohio State's got strong hooks on this guy, and look, they're top 3 just like they're top 5 just like Miami. So they got a good pitch, but Miami is working this one hard. His teammates already committed. That helps. Miami really, really would love to add Jarquez Carter. You got to recruit elite defensive tackles every year.
Look at this one coming off the edge here. He kills this QB. Poor guy.
You got to get guys like this, man. You cannot just get – these guys are not in the portal. Simeon Barrow was a huge find. Cost Miami a lot of money. He's living up to it. But you got to get guys like this in high school. There you see him on offense. Look at the athletic ability, catching the pass. That's always something I look for with defensive tackles. Are they playing offense? It sounds stupid, but they're really great NFL talents at defensive tackle. A lot of times you'll see them catch touchdowns, run them in like Justin Scott did last year as a running back, just because they're so athletic. So
listen, what a tough D-line this must be for opposing offensive lines. I remember watching Micah Newton's clips as well. They also lined him up on the edge as well as the interior, like they're doing here with Jarquez.
Yeah, well, they are. They met at the quarterback right there.
I mean, the way that they move these guys inside outside at their size is impressive.
Yeah, they've got like to replicate that with the Miami Hurricanes, landing both those guys. It'll be a process, but listen, defensive tackles are never easy. This one is one Miami has a circled, underlined, highlighted. Jarquez Carter out of Newberry, Florida. Now I'm gonna finish with a couple names that I don't think need too much introduction, but let's go with DJ Pickett out of Riverview, Florida. Miami legacy. His cousin Booker Pickett had a sack last week against Duke. This guy's been on campus a ton, committed to LSU. Surprising a lot of people who thought it was an Oregon-Miami battle. Ended up going to LSU. He's been vocal about how much he loves LSU the last couple of weeks, but people around this recruitment expect it to come down to the wire. I tend to think, one thing I've learned in recruiting is logic usually plays out, which means when you lay out a kid's reasons for going to a school, if they all line up, usually the money will end up lining up and the kid will end up coming to the school. So when you look at DJ Pickett, he's got a ton of ties to Miami between Cannon Pickett, who's going to be a top offensive line target next year. Booker Pickett is already here. His uncles. This is a Miami family. He's always said, I want to see how Miami does on the field before I commit. He said that before he committed to LSU, which again, Miami hadn't played any games yet. Now Miami's the number 4 team in the country. They need defensive backs. DJ Pickett, whether you look at him as a safety or a corner, he projects as a defensive back. Could also play receiver possibly, which look, if he wants to do that, got a pretty good situation here for receivers at the University of Miami. There you see him right here playing receiver using that speed. But it logically makes too much sense. I think Miami would prioritize. They have prioritized him, so I don't think it's going to be a financial situation at the end of the day. I think this is a deal where I don't want to say he's building up hype, but he has no reason to pick a school right now. He's already committed to LSU, but he's obviously still been flirting with Miami, visiting games. I think this is going to be sort of the showcase kid for the class as far as the bells and whistles down to the wire. But I do think that Miami's going to be right in this until the end. Don't believe what you read. It's like Jeremiah Smith. I always said, look, Jeremiah Smith's going to come down to the end. People were like, oh, you're crazy. You're being a homer. And he said it himself. It came right down to the last minute with Jeremiah Smith because logically, a lot of things pointed to Miami. The one difference between Jeremiah Smith and DJ Pickett and why I think this one might turn out differently is Miami's good. There's a proof of the product. With Jeremiah Smith, he was expected to go more on faith. And it still almost happened at the end. So this to me is this year's Jeremiah Smith in terms of people are going to say it's over and whatever. It's not over. It will be right there at the end, and then there'll be some drama involved. But I do think Miami has a very good pitch for a DJ Pickett. And my guess has always been that it comes together at the end. I could be wrong. I thought we were getting him the first time, and we didn't. So, this is an inexact science. I don't think anybody had him going to LSU. The national media thought he was going to Oregon. People connected to different programs thought maybe Oregon or Miami goes to LSU. Hard to predict, but usually at the end, when the pen hits the paper, does the pen still hit the paper with the new rules? I don't even know.
Yeah.
When the decision is made, ultimately in December Logic, to me, usually prevails, and all the logic says we're better than LSU. We're where he wants to be based on everything he said his whole life, and we need that position particularly. Makes sense for him to come to Miami. Keep an eye on DJ Pickett. That's going to be the bells and whistles recruitment of this process. And finishing it off, Pete, to me, the best offensive player in the state, and maybe the best player in the state with Ben Hanks or DJ Pickett or Charquez Carter, quite frankly, after some of what we've seen, Vernell Brown, wide receiver committed to the University of Florida legacy. His father's a sports agent. There's numerous ties that are binding him to that school. Billy Napier just got the vote of confidence, like we mentioned. I think that was a lot about keeping DJ Lagway in the fold, which in theory should help a guy like Vernell Brown because he's going to know he's going to have that guy throwing him passes in theory. Right now, I'd say Florida's definitely the favorite. What I'm going to say is when Florida loses these next 3 games, hopefully loses the next 4 games, and Gator fans are disillusioned with the idea of more Billy Napier, let's see what happens. Miami's prioritizing this player in a major, major way. Xavier Restrepo might win the Bolitnikoff, and this guy's got to look at that and say, do I want to be like him or do I want to be like Eugene Wilson, whose career is kind of faded? Has anyone talked about Eugene Wilson at all this year?
No, he's been hurt. He had the hip surgery.
So he's been out the whole year.
Yeah.
Well, even when he was played, he didn't do anything. It's not like he did anything against us.
Yeah.
So he's been a total non-factor. None of the receivers on Florida are a factor at all. So if you're looking at that compared to an Xavier Restrepo, who do you want to be in that scenario? I would rather be certainly Restrepo. That's going to be the pitch to Vernell Brown. Again, I would lean to Florida right now, but it's a long way to go. Let's root for Florida to lose every single game. Let's root for more toxicity in the program. I want some fired Billy Napier banners flying over that stadium. Let's bring some negative energy to the Florida Gators as a fan base. Let's bring some toxicity. let's stoke the flames if we can. I know I will on Twitter.
I was going to say,
every
no one
chance
can do
I
it
get.
like you.
They give me plenty of material. They played pretty good. They got a nice moral victory last week. 4 games. 3, I think they're going to be heavily underdog. Florida State's so bad that they'll probably be favored, but Florida State's, they could pull an upset. That's the game I'm circling, that Florida State game. Because if Florida State beats the Gators this year, can you imagine what's going to happen with that Gator fan base, especially after really got the vote of confidence with the 51st ranked recruiting class in the country?
Yeah, that would be very, very funny to watch from the outside looking in.
Billy think about this. The Gators had the 51st ranked recruiting class in the country. And I just said Ben Hanks and Vernell Brown might be the 2 best players in Florida. They might be 2 of the top 10 players in the nation. And they are committed to the Gators, and the Gators are ranked 51st. So this class is teetering on the edge. Obviously, they're all focused on DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway's playing through injury right now. Let's see how he finishes. Obviously, we hope for everybody to be healthy. But other than that, very bad outcomes we're hoping for the Florida Gators and to get these guys in. So those are the Battleground 6, Pete. I think these are the guys you circle, you underline, you watch closely. Again, Kellen Wiley, Shamar Arnaud, I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong, the cornerback from Georgia that's committed to USC. Someone's going to correct me in the comments and how badly I'm butchering his name. Dallas Wilson, also in the mix. Those guys could end up in this class, but I'm personally focusing on those Battleground 6 players. 2 DBs, 1 receiver, 1 linebacker, 1 defensive tackle, 1 defensive end.
And I know you wanted to talk about a guy for next year's class as well on the offensive line.
Yeah, in general, I want to talk about the offensive line. This offensive line class has a chance, according to everybody I'm talking to at the University of Miami, to be number 1, the best offensive line class nationally in many years. There was a very good one when Francis Mauanoa and Samson Alcalola and all those guys were coming out. They think this class nationally has a chance to be better, and that in terms of the Miami Hurricanes has a chance to be the absolute best offensive line class in Miami history. Obviously, Coach Cristobal and Mirabal have a pretty good rap with offensive linemen. Plus, the results have been on the field. Mauanoa is going to be a 3 and done. He's going to be a top 10 pick. Markel Bell. By the way, I spoke to someone yesterday who told me Markel Bell could end up being a first-round pick based on his current trajectory. So this class coming up on the offensive line, I'm pulling up the rankings now. I mean, it's just absolutely unbelievable. You talk about Jackson Cantwell out of Missouri, who visited the past weekend with his family. He's somebody that Miami's got their their hooks in. He visited. They had a great time. He understands the pitch of Miami's offensive line development pipeline. This is an elite player, as good as anybody in the country. Both of his parents are Olympic throwers. He is the number 4 player right now on 247, number 1 lineman coming out of Nixa, Missouri. And I mean, those genetics are just unheard of. When both your parents are Olympic throwers, it's not that hard to see the athleticism, the punch, the size, the length, everything that Cantwell brings to the table. That recruiting ranking is worth the hype. Miami's treating him like that special talent that he is. But he visited, liked it. Miami won. Offensive line played great. Great pitch right now to Jackson Cantwell, which is being well received. So Miami would love to add this player to their offensive line class. Some other names that I wanted to mention. I'm going to be butchering names. I'm trying my best. My wife yelled at me for not knowing these kids' names properly. And you always having to correct me, so I'm trying my best. But Kenye Pepe from IMG Academy, 6'7", 295, offensive tackle from IMG. He's an offensive tackle he's a 5-star. He's ranked, I guess, a high 4-star now, but let's say 4-star, 5-star Polynesian offensive tackle from IMG. Naturally, the comparisons are going to be there to Francis Mauanoa. Francis Mauanoa is involved in that recruitment. He's a guy to watch. Grant Wise from Pace, Florida, son of Ty Wise, probably the best offensive lineman in the state of Florida. That's in the non-IMG category, maybe in the IMG category as well. This guy is just unreal. Watch his senior film. He's about 6'4". He's grown. He looked like only a center prospect. Now he looks like an interior line prospect generally. And this dude's junior film, is some of the best in the country. When you watch him play offensive line, he's unbelievable. Collegier, offensive lineman from IMG, another one, probably the best interior lineman in the country, along with a guy like a Grant Wise and some others. He's looking like a legitimate prospect for Miami on the offensive line. Talk about Cannon Pickett. Talked about him earlier, Miami legacy from the Tampa area. Miami looks very good there. Another interior line prospect. These are some names to watch as major targets on the offensive line who Miami would love to land. And if they can land and they have a chance to land all these guys, they'd be putting together an offensive line class that we'll be talking about for many years to replace what should be one of the best offensive lines in the country next year.
Man, what is Jackson Cantwell going to look like in a year and a half, 2 years? He already looks, really well put together, and the athleticism's there and the pedigree's there, obviously, with his parents. But if you give Coach Mirabal and Cristobal something like that to work with, it could be pretty scary.
Yeah, I had the first name wrong. Breck Collegier was the interior lineman I was talking about from IMG, 6'5.5", 300 pounds. He's rated as a 3-star on 247. I'm told that ranking is just garbage. This is like a 5-star type player. Turn on the film, you'll see it. I'm sure when they get to IMG in the spring, that ranking will go up. But put him in that 5-star category. Put Grant Wise in that really high ranking category. Cannon Pickett, guy Miami really likes. And then, of course, Pepe and Cantwell, they're already as high rated as you can get. So those are the names that I would watch for 2025. Just, again, some other tidbits in terms of the cornerback position for Miami right now, an injured position. Obviously, I get a lot of questions about the cornerback position. I'm hearing, look, without any specifics, you could be seeing new faces emerge at that position. It's not unexpected. It wouldn't be unexpected if you see some new names. There's a lot of players in practice right now making a lot of plays for the Miami Hurricanes. Obviously, there's a need with the injury to Jadis Richard, a season-ending knee injury. So there's opportunities. Don't be surprised if you see some new faces making plays for the Miami Hurricanes at that position. Again, I mentioned also Markel Bell, guy people have been talking about. There's a debate on the boards. Where's Markel Bell? What do we feel about his performance? Internally, he is considered a guy that they thought might be an NFL player down the road. Now they've seen him and seen how fast he's progressing, and they projecting the development in the offseason with how good he is intangible-wise and how big he is. First-round potential. You could have 2 first-round tackles for the Miami Hurricanes next year with Bell and Mauanoa if they keep developing on their current trajectory. So that's excited about the future. And we talk about the recruits. I want to talk about the current team a little bit as well.
Yeah, I've been all over the Markel Bell thing, so I'm with that 100%.
All right, Pete, let's some sad news here. we should talk about Miami legend. You've seen this name a million times because he's in the Ring of Honor. You've seen it every time you go to a Miami home game, and that is Don Bosler, a former All-American from Miami, led Miami to the number 6 ranking in 1956 in the AP poll. This was a fullback. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame. He's in the Miami Hall of Fame, played 8 years in the NFL, was a top 10 pick as a fullback for the Washington Redskins, drafted 9th overall, made a Pro Bowl in 1989, 22 touchdowns, 3,000 yards. Just some cool tidbits here reading the ESPN story. The other guys taken ahead of Bosler at the running back position in 57 were Paul Hornung and Jim Brown. Paul Hornung from Notre Dame, Jim Brown from Syracuse. So pretty good running backs there, both in the Hall of Fame. So Hornung apparently called them and asked them what they signed for. When they told him they got a $500 signing bonus, he got that from Washington and then immediately spent that $500 at a party with his friends. It's still a lot to spend in one night in 2024. In 1957, it was probably a pretty good amount of money. But he's originally from the upstate New York area, an area that's been good to Miami, kind of a pipeline to the University of Miami, both from players and really students as well. So that's a pipeline that he was a part of, going from the coldest part of the country down here to sunny South Florida. He lived in Miami after his NFL career, was a stockbroker, had success there. Just cool to learn about these guys who talk about Miami being the top 10 now and how big a deal it was. Imagine 1956 when Miami really was not on the map at all, being ranked among these powerhouse programs, kind of a forgotten part of our history. So you see the name on the Ring of Honor, put a face to the name here. RIP to Don Bosler. Lived a full life, died at 88, but a great legacy.
Without a doubt. Very, very sad, but great legacy, great career, and great Miami Hurricane.
Yep. So going from Hurricane great of past to Hurricane greats of present, as we get to the Beacon Adjusters Player of the Game. Now, we do this before and after, right? We try to project the player of the game, say who is going to be the guy that stands out on Saturday. And then on Monday, we come back and tell you who really was the player of the game. Pete hit it both last week with Xavier Estrepo. Hit it right on the nose, said he was going to be the player of the game. Of course, he was the player of the game, breaking Miami's all-time receiving record on a long touchdown catch. So you got the hot streak. I'll give you the mic. Who's going to be the player of the game? Who's the Beacon Adjusters projected player of the game for Pete?
I'm going to go with Mark Fletcher, D. I think that, I think the passing game still does what it does, but we've seen Damian Martinez with a hot hand the past couple weeks. I think Mark Fletcher has been running well too, but I think that he's going to be able to finish off a couple of these drives, score a couple touchdowns, get over 100 yards in this game, and I think he makes some impactful runs against a Georgia Tech run defense, as we had Chad Bishop on yesterday. That's been a really solid unit. They haven't been great against the pass, but I think Miami will get that passing game going and then finish this game off with the run, and I think that Mark Fletcher will do the job.
Yeah, for me, and I think I've done this a few times. Maybe I'm trying to wish this into existence, but I'm going to go again with Ruben Bane. I've been waiting for the breakout for Ruben Bane, and this is on paper not the game to break out. Georgia Tech is a team that wants to run the ball, control the clock. Their quarterback, whether Haynes King plays or not, you're dealing with a backup or a starter that's going to be a little nicked up, so they're going to lean on the run game. They're not going to pass a ton, and there's an offensive line that ranks second nationally in sack percentage. So everything on paper says that Ruben Bane should not have a big impact on this game, but they absolutely need him to step up and have one of those monster games, help out your secondary, help out your defense, get guys off the field. And he looks like Ruben Bane. He's playing great. When you really break down and isolate his performance, he's getting a lot of pressure. He forced that interception to Mish Powell. Last week, he forced a fumble that Mesidor recovered in lateral to Cam Pruitt by pushing the offensive lineman into Malik Murphy. So he's causing problems. He just hasn't gotten the sacks. I think he has a big game. Plus, he's good against the run as well. So it's not just getting sacks. It's what he does in the running game. Big challenge with Georgia Tech's offensive line. I'm worried about this game in general. Ruben Bane's someone that gives me comfort because I do think he is the best defensive player in the ACC. I say it every time. This is the kind of game to prove it. Very tough opponent, toughest opponent left on Miami's regular season schedule. We need Ruben Bane to step up against the run and the pass. I think he does so. Talking about Beacon Adjusters, if your property has been affected by Hurricane Helene or Milton, Beacon Adjusters Group is here to help. With years of experience handling storm-related damage, we work tirelessly to ensure you get the compensation you deserve. From assessment to settlement, our team of trusted experts will guide you every step of the way. Don't face the aftermath alone. Let Beacon Adjusters Group restore your peace of mind. Call us today. So let's talk about the Georgia Tech game a little bit. We did the preview with Chad Bishop. We did the podcast with Mike Ryan. But, I'm losing sleep about this game. I really do think that this spread, which is last I checked was 11, it's pretty accurate. I think that's the kind of game this is. Obviously, there's uncertainty with Haynes King being injured or not. The quarterback for Georgia Tech with bum shoulder. He was named a captain. Is that mind games? Is that a sign that he's going to play? We'll see. I think more likely than not he plays, and my prediction matched that. So my prediction for the game, 31-20. We're putting it on social media. Has it gone out yet? Probably by the time you're listening to this, it's gone out, but I'm thinking 31-20 for Miami, which is right on line with the spread. I know I'm being very conservative and chalk and not really going on a limb, but that running game and the ability to control the clock for Georgia Tech, I see it giving us problems for a little bit. Miami's been good against the run generally, but they do have to worry about the run while also accounting for some really good receivers. Eric Singleton might be the best receiver in the conference, not named Restrepo. If it's not Singleton, if it's not Ja'Cory Brooks, it is going to be Eric Singleton. Really, really talented receiver for Georgia Tech. He's the 8th ranked receiver in the ACC in terms of receiving yards, but I think his talent kind of exceeds that. There's been quarterback problems at Georgia Tech. Obviously, Haynes King, more of a playmaker than a pure passer, and he's been hurt for a couple weeks, so I think that's depressed Singleton's stats a little bit, but if Singleton was on the Canes, he'd be putting up huge numbers. He's a super, super talented player, NFL-type receiver. And then Malik Rutherford on the other side, who's been even better than Singleton. And Pete, Malik Rutherford from Miami, went to Champagnat. He's a guy that I've liked since high school. There's a post I made about him pre-pandemic, this February 2020. I thought that he would earn a scholarship ahead of what Georgia Tech was offering, ended up sticking with Georgia Tech. The big schools really didn't wake up to Malik Rutherford. But I mean, when you look at the sacks, he's the number 4 receiver in the ACC. 2 other South Florida receivers in the top as well. Number 1, Xavier Restrepo, the best receiver in the ACC from Broward County. Ja'Cory Brooks from Miami, number 2. But Rutherford's number 4. He's a guy you really have to watch out for. He's not as dynamic, straight line speed as Eric Singleton. Probably lacks the NFL potential. But Rutherford is a guy who has quickness, who has toughness, who has productivity, has instinct. He's a Dade County baller. He's going to be super motivated for this game. Guy you have to watch at the receiver position.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, they have weapons offensively. I think for me, I don't know if I'm as worried as you are for this game. I have it at 42-17 Miami. And look, some of these scores are deceiving me as you look at how Miami wins the game by 22 last week. And obviously it was a lot closer than that for a big part of that game. So listen, I'm not saying that there's not going to be a point of this game where it's a little tight. I just think that whether Haynes King plays or not, right? If Haynes King doesn't play, I think this is Miami wins this game by 4, 3-4 type scores without a problem. But if he does play, again, you can't really use last year as a barometer for this game because the defense is different. The offense obviously is different, but Haynes King wasn't hurting Miami necessarily last year. Right before that last drive where he had 70 yards, he has some ability with his feet, but he was 12 for 25 in that game, right? So I think even if he does play, which I don't think would be near 100%, or I don't think his full arsenal would be available because obviously the shoulder and running, it's going to be a big part of taking hits, which he is a physical runner. But I just don't see this offense being able to make plays again, even if he's in there. If they get it out quick to some of these guys, who knows? But I like Miami's chance, especially considering that Georgia Tech is a team built on a lot of the fundamentals that Miami is built on under Mario Cristobal. So a lot of these teams that have given Miami issues, again, not that Georgia Tech doesn't spread the ball out, but I think these other teams had an element of the spread attack. And I just don't see Georgia Tech being able to bring their best against Miami this weekend. So maybe it's some optimism, but I'm going 42-17.
Quarterback's going to play a big role. We know it. We'll see how that plays out. Either way, Miami's got to come to play. This is a talented team. They're going to cause a lot of problems. And look, if you want to see this game, it's going to be exciting. Every Miami game has been this year. Go to Bodega. They got the watch party up in Coral Gables. Canes Connection members, you get a ton of deals if you go. You don't have to be a Canes Connection member to go, but if you do, you get a ton of perks. I went to the event against Louisville at the Coral Gables Bodega location. It was awesome. Had some of the best Mexican food in town. Great TVs, great turnout, packed house, but everybody did have seats. and it was just a lot of fun. There was a raffle afterwards. Canes Connection member, shout out to Albert, won a Cam Ward autographed football. That's the kind of stuff, that's the kind of giveaways we have here. So again, you don't have to be a Canes Connection member to go, but you get perks if you are a Canes Connection member. You can sign up when you're there too if you want to get enrolled in some of these raffles. Also, Canes Connection members get access to the private chats with me. Just had one yesterday, getting the absolute latest on recruiting in the team, including things I can't say here because we don't want our rivals cutting it up, rival fans cutting it up. Sign up for CanesConnection.com/CIS. So to have access, again, CanesConnection.com/CIS. Help us, help the team, help yourself. CanesConnection.com/CIS.
Remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Keep it locked on CanesInSight all weekend long. We'll be doing the usual post-game show tomorrow as well. D, are you going to be hopping on that one, or is that one just going to be me? I guess we'll figure that one out.
We'll see. I'll be in the Bahamas. So
that's right.
But I'll be watching the game, obviously. So maybe I can find a nice view there with the palm trees in the background. There's a big hurricane event happening that weekend as well in Bahamas. If anyone's at that event, look for me, holler at me in Nassau. But Pete, basketball, got an instant reaction for that game too, right? Coming up on Sunday.
Yeah, that'll be Sunday. So looking forward to that as well. Sunday at 2 p.m. So, obviously there's gonna be a lot of people watching NFL at that time. But Canes Hoops, man, we got 2 Sunday games back to back. So this Sunday and next Sunday. And then things really ratchet up as they get into the Charleston tournament. They'll play Drake on the 21st, so that'll be really when the season, I think, gets kicked off in earnest.
And look, there's some people that might not be watching Canes Hoops. There's some people who don't care about the NFL. My interest in the NFL is dropping precipitously lately. And you care about Canes football. Well, I got good news. Great event on Monday at the Miami Hurricane team store, which is going to be an autograph session. You're going to have Simeon Barrow. You are going to have Artavius. Help me out, Pete.
Adarius Hayes.
Adarius Hayes. God, he's so old.
You were thinking about Artavius Jones for a second there.
We'll get him in a future one. Yeah. But Adarius Hayes from Largo, Florida will be there. This will be an event Monday from 6 to 7 p.m. You got Nye Carr, highly rated receiver who's just knocking on the door to play from Georgia. And then, of course, Jalen Rivers, one of the pillars of the offensive line. And actually, you know what? This is on Monday. So in the past, we had these events on Sunday, which if you're a Canes basketball fan, you would have missed it. But luckily, you can watch the Canes game on Sunday and still go to this event Monday, 6 to 7. You don't need to miss NFL. So this works out perfectly. Right after work, take your kids. Monday, November 11th, 6 to 7 p.m. Get your autographs at the Miami Hurricane team store, MiamiHTS.com. If you want to just get gear, Insight20 gets you 20% off. And if you go to the store in person, you can still use the same promo code, Insight20 for 20% off. I'm like Ron Burgundy. I need to see the picture or else I screw it up. Feed. You got to put the picture up. If I don't get the picture
I don't understand the reference.
Yeah, of course. Never been to the movies. But anyways, appreciate everybody joining us. Appreciate everybody's support. Like and subscribe to this video. Get to the post game on Saturday. Hopefully it'll be another Victory Saturday, Victory Monday. On Monday, we'll be going every single day with CanesInSight Daily Pods. Again, let's go Canes. Appreciate it. See it. I hope you can see it out there at Bodega if you're able to make it out. Otherwise, tune in. Go Canes.
Go Canes.
This an insight to the Canes, and you know we ain't playing no games. Joaquin said dominate, so that's what we do. Home of the legends and 7th floor crew. Down in Miami where hurricanes brew. You here for the rumors, we bring you the news. Cause it's all about the you. And nobody do it like CanesInSight. Nobody do it like CanesInSight. Nobody do it like